Jeremiah from the future here with a really quick, important message about today's episode. The recording was an hour and 15 minutes long, so we broke it into two parts. You'll hear the first part today. The second part will be next week, episode 224. A couple of reasons why we did that. My wife had a baby 2 days ago, and we just got home today, so I can edit this episode. Sorry about putting it out a day late. And then last week, John moved his family to a new house, a new town, and they're unpacking everything and moving in. So he literally set up his computer so we could record this episode with Jason. I hope you enjoy it. And this 2 weeks will give us a little bit of wiggle room to figure out our new lives and new routines. So thank you to all the supporters who continue to watch and listen. And I hope you enjoy this episode and the next one and being patient so that we can continue to provide you with quality content.
Welcome to the Backpacking Podcast, brought to you by Outdoor Vitals, makers of the Skyline Jogger, which, Jeremiah, I don't know about you, but I'm a personal fan of, but I've got a problem with them.
What's your problem?
I have to get a new pair.
Is this a good problem or a bad problem?
They're too big now.
Well, I
that's a good problem, I think. I think that's a good problem.
I think Outdoor Vitals can really hook you up with a new pair. I don't think they'll mind a bit.
I think I'm going to contact them and see if they will, because they were literally one of my favorite things to wear around. I mean, I wore them all over town. I wore them when I moved this past week. That's when I realized they might be just a little bit big. There's nothing like, let's just say that there's a new saying around my house, and that is say no to crack. So we'll just leave it at that. Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Jeremiah.
They're not. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're going to say something actually worthwhile. I wasn't.
No, I was just going to mention, if anybody does want to check out the Skyline Joggers, super comfy, super airy. They got plenty of mesh around the regions where you're going to sweat the most. It's going to keep you nice and cool. So check them out at outdoorvitals.com. We appreciate them sponsoring the episode.
Yeah, they're fantastic company. I'll tell you, just being able to partner up with those guys, I've been loving using their gear. And I do have a change of plans, though, on something, Jeremiah. I want to say this before we bring our guest in.
Okay.
I'm not doing the Foothills Trail in August.
Oh, okay. What are you going to change?
Now, the reason why I'm not doing it is because of listeners of this podcast sending me private emails saying, hiking that in August is a death wish because of the heat.
Oh, it's probably pretty hot.
Yeah, so I was told don't do that. And so since I have to get this in like before September, my buddy Sean and I, we're actually going to go up to the Laurel Highlands Trail up in Pennsylvania instead. So,
yeah, that'd be awesome, dude.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. It's still going to be hot, but it's not going to be South Carolina hot. So there's just something about dying on trail that doesn't sound like fun. So we kind of
hopefully there's going to be plenty of water. I don't know.
Yeah, there should be. I'm thinking there should be. We'll find out. I mean, the nice thing is, if we get the word out, maybe we can get some trail angels to leave us some water caches along the way to, help out.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. Grease up the wheels.
Yeah, it'll be nice. But either way, still going on the hike. It's still about the same distance too. I think it's about 70, 75 miles. So should be good. Also, Jeremiah, if you look behind me, this is not my normal set, right? I'm also realizing just how crooked my camera is. But we moved into our new house, man.
Oh, congratulations on the move. This
is the basement, a.k.a. currently the dungeon. You could see my hot water heater right over. I got to point all the way right there. And then right here is our furnace. So the inner workings of my home.
Here. We have an old desk in my background, some backpacking equipment. Right here laying on the ground from my last. Actually, it's probably my kayaking trip.
These are all quilts through here. So those are all quilts. They're already sitting in a little shelf right now, but we're building a studio, like a legit studio. I've never had a legit studio. Mine has always been the garage. So we're actually going to build one down here in the basement, which should be pretty cool.
We're all about continuous improvement here on the Backpacking Podcast. Get better every week.
Well, and here's the other thing, Jeremiah. I think you and I have talked about this privately, but I've not really told a lot of people about this. But One of the things that kept me from making YouTube videos was the fact that I was a 300+ pound guy trying to explain how to go backpacking and all this stuff, and I felt weird about it. Never felt comfortable about it. But Jeremiah, I'm not a 300-pound backpacker anymore, so let's just say those videos, they might be coming back.
All right, rock and roll, beast mode, baby.
I got to get back into it so I can troll the trolls. You know what I mean?
I'll be right there to support you, brother.
There it is. Hey, speaking of just like awesome YouTube channels and guys that are family to this podcast, I think it's time we bring on Dad.
Oh, backpacking with Dad.
I think it's time we bring Mr. Everyone knows him. He's our #1 guest on this show. He's the reason we talk about poop every episode. He is a legend of Kentucky backpacking. You may be the king, Jeremiah, but he's the emperor, and he's here to share with us his first major injury on trail. It is Mr. Backpacking with Jason, sir. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Nice to see both of you. Nice to see your water heater.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah, I've got to name him still. He doesn't have a name yet.
It's a beautiful water heater. How about we call her Susie?
We call her Bertha. How about that?
Bertha.
Big
Don't want
Bertha.
To give birth. You don't want Bertha to give birth. That's
Speaking of birth, wait a second. Speaking of birth, Jeremiah, is there something coming up soon?
Yeah, as of recording this episode, we're recording it a couple of days before it comes out. But tomorrow is the day that my son is delivered from the womb. Bridget is so every day she's like, can't wait to get this baby out of me. And I'm like, don't worry, little buddy. We're coming for you. We're gonna break you out. So, yes, if you're listening,
are you going to be in there? Are you going to be in the waiting room? Because still in Eastern and South Kentucky, some of the fellas still wait out in the hallway and smoke cigarettes in the hospitals. So I was just wondering if you're going to be in the delivery room or you're going to be waiting in the waiting room.
What hospitals do people smoke in? That's what I'm curious about.
Hazard, Pittsburgh, Somerset.
So you're saying where my wife is from?
Fancy. He might get fancy and go to London. Now, where are you having this baby at?
Yeah, we're going to do in London, and don't worry, I got 3 packs of Marlboros lined up. I'm going to smoke them right next to the oxygen machine. It's going to be great.
Oh, that's great.
You got to have the cigars, too. You got to have the cigars to pass around to everybody.
Oh, yeah. There'll be plenty of cigars and bourbon. We're going to have a great time.
There we go. There we go.
Right.
It's so funny, man. What stinks is we just moved. If we hadn't moved, I'd be driving down to see that baby.
Oh, no worries, man. There'll be plenty.
Yeah. That's awesome, though, man. Congratulations to you and Bridget, man. That's some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
So what's it, Jason, what's it like? You're going to be a grandfather.
Backpack with grandpa.
I'm like Uncle Jay is what I want to be called. Uncle Jay.
I think we can arrange that.
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah. I won't be calling
well, speaking of.
Anyway, my name when I do become a papa will be J-Pop anyway.
J-Pop.
I like
Ooh,
that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Kind of sound like a K-pop singer.
Now, your boy can call me J-Pop. He is allowed to call me that. He can't call me J-Pop. That'll be fine.
All right.
I'll accept it.
I'll tell him.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
I'll tell him. If he's as smart as Jeremiah, the boy will be reading books by 1 year old. He'll be doing trigonometry by 3. He'll be the next Einstein.
I can already say him. What's going on, hackers? I'm just waiting for it. The first time I hear that kid say that, it's going to be great. So Jason, talk to us, man. People don't realize this because we're only seeing you from the chest up. But if people were to see you right now from the waist down, they might be a little surprised at what they see. You want to tell us a story?
What the girls say? Nah, I tease it.
Oh, my God.
I tease it. But, yeah, we was on a little trip.
Woo, buddy.
We was on a little trip, and I had a little accident while we was out there. Maybe you have a picture of it. Maybe you don't. But, yeah, I had a little boo-boo.
A little boo-boo.
Can I set up the situation here? Oh man,
Jeremiah?
look at that boo boo. If anybody's watching on YouTube or Spotify, seeing the video version, Jason, why don't you describe the image that we're seeing?
Can I just make the statement that that looks like his ankle is just as pregnant as your wife?
Yes.
Look at
Yes.
those pretty
Yes.
toes.
Goodness. He had a
Oh, baby,
softball
still
implanted
pictures of
in
my
his ankle.
feet. Oh man, that was a tough one. Tough one. You know, we're going to the Big South Fork, and a lot of people backpack that area a lot. And me, my buddies have kayaked it a bunch, and I've tried to get Jeremiah to go on a trip with us. So he finally, one of my buddies brought an extra kayak, and he could go with us. And so it's the Cumberland River section in the Big South Fork. It's around 19 miles. We start at Station Camp, Tennessee, and head to Blue Heron, Kentucky. It's a beautiful, beautiful section, but in that section, there's not many ways to get out. And if it is, it'd be a tough hike to get all the way back around and to get back. So, so once you get in there, you got to go. And there is some good rapids in there. At the beginning, the first few days, you have some, but that last day, that you're out there, you're going to have a bunch, especially towards the end. And they get a lot bigger and better. Now, me and Jeremiah out there, the water levels were pretty low, wasn't they, Jeremiah? They was
Like
lower than what we
300.
like, so we scraped
Yes.
sometimes on the bottoms and so forth. But we just took it the way we had it. We was like, let's not miss it, the opportunity. Let's go and so forth. So this was the very first night. This was Friday. We get to camp around 5:36. We was just horsing around, looking at stuff. Everybody's getting their campsites. I go over here to this other side, try to get away from everybody, have a little private area. I get there on the bank and I see it's a little muddy, but who worries about it? Well, I got on the mud and I just slipped, and my foot, if this was my toes, it just went back like this, and I
Ooh.
felt a pop. And when I heard that, I felt that pop. I was like, "Oh, I broke my foot." And so when I looked down at my foot, yes, that's pretty gnarly. So when I look down at my foot, this right here, this picture is probably within the first 20 minutes or so. And so it went real fast, swelling up. And at that moment,
Wait a second. That was in the
I,
first 20 minutes it looked like that?
yeah, about first 20, 30 minutes. I mean,
Oh,
it was pretty
wow.
instant right there.
That's bad.
So, so, well, at the moment, I was like, well, boys, I twisted my ankle, I hurt it, but I could wiggle my toes. And for some reason, I thought if you wiggle your toes, that your foot's not broke. Well, that's just stupid. It wasn't anything. The doctor said, no, no, no. He was like, no, I don't mean anything. So for some reason, I thought I could wiggle my toes. I'm okay, you know. And the guys all checked on me. Somebody got me some ice. We all had coolers because it's a kayaking trip. And I had to just go away from everybody. I had to go by myself. I had to just, I had my chair and I sat in my hammock. I propped my foot up in the chair, and everybody else was down by the campfire. And they said, "Hey, you want us to bring you over, carry you over?" I said, "No," because at that moment in my mind, I was like, one, we're about 15 miles, 16 miles from a vehicle. Two, we're on a backpack. We're on a trip, not backpack. We're just on a trip. Everybody wanting to have fun. Three, I know I'm in for a long haul, even with the sprained ankle. If I'm going to be 3 weeks, couple weeks, before I get my foot back together and in shape. So all this is going through my mind. Everybody just left me alone, let me deal with myself till morning.
Yeah, you think I can add a little context there for the first day?
Absolutely,
I'm
you
just going to
can.
sit back and
Yes.
chill and listen to you guys talk about this because this is
Okay.
fascinating.
I'll tell you a little more about it. So this trip was my very first kayaking trip, and I know Jason's trying to give me a good experience. I ended up with the exact same kayak that he's using. Get everything
Yep.
packed up. It's
Now,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
your first kayaking on the river with rapids. You've kayaked
Yes.
with me before, but on rapids. This is the first time with
Yeah.
rapids.
Yeah. I would call this a true kayaking down the river and camping for multiple nights. And the route that we
Yep.
were doing, the worst rapids were going to be the last day, the last half mile or so. It's only half mile to a quarter of a mile. Once you get to the rapids, those really bad rapids, which we'll talk more about here in just a minute, then right after that, you're about to the truck. So Jason going through his mind, I'm sure he knows, oh,
Yes,
if we stay out here till
I've been on this.
Sunday.
Yeah, I've been on this trip many times. I know what's coming. I know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, how many times have you actually done this route? Because you could do it probably in one day if you started early or camp one night, but we wanted to camp 2 nights and just take it slow and have fun. But I've seen Jason's video of this exact trip. Was this your third or fourth time doing that route?
No, no, no. We used to do it a bunch before I even like was YouTubing and stuff like that. Probably my eighth or ninth time,
Okay,
something like
so
that.
Wow.
But
you kind of know it.
but yeah, and so I knew what was coming on there. But it always depends how fast you can go by the water levels. You know, the CFS. You know, so our CFS was like 275 to 220 for the whole trip. You know, you really for kayak camping, fishing, swimming, you want to be 500 or lower, maybe
So
five
can
to
you
300,
explain what that is real
600.
quick, Jason? What is CFS?
Jeremiah, cubic feet per second, I think. It's
Okay.
cubic feet, but
Well,
that
it's
I read.
basically it's a measurement of volume of like how fast the water is moving. Like if you ask Google
Yes,
cubic feet per
Okay.
second, a unit of measurement referring to the volume and speed of water flow. So it kind of measures in Jason's mind how deep those rapids are going to be, how rough they're going to be. If they're really high, maybe this one tight area may be better, or if it's really low, it may be worse. So since he'd done it so many times, he was kind of telling us ahead of time, hey, the water's going to be low. Because when they were planning the trip, I was like, I really want to go, but it was in June and it was kind of around my wife's birthday, around our anniversary time. They had a week span, maybe a 2 week span to pick out the dates because it all depends on the water levels. So we hadn't
yeah,
gotten a ton of rain leading up to that trip. So the water levels are really down. So
yeah.
that first day, Friday, we didn't paddle that far. And actually, Jason said that he picked out a campsite where he already had a campsite picked out, but one of his buddies might have swiped in and snatched it up. And I don't think Jason minded because we were all packed in pretty tight. I
Yes,
found that when you're kayak camping, if you want to be close to the kayak, well, then you're going to have to camp really close to the river. So that kind of
yeah.
limits you on your spots. And Jason, he likes to be separate, but there wasn't that many spots. So he went and set up his camp. And then he and I think, went out and paddled around, fished a little bit, and the sun was starting to set. And then we come back over after we were already set up and everything. Luckily, he was already set up before he got injured. But we paddled back over, and I went to my site, which is probably 30 yards away from him. He went to his site. He went up his muddy bank. I went up my muddy bank, and I went back over to his hammock maybe 15, 20 minutes after that, and he was sitting down. Maybe he hollered at me. I can't remember. And I was like, what's going on, man? He's like, I'm hurt. I'm hurt. I twisted my ankle. We didn't know how serious it was. And I think we gave him some vitamin I, which all the
Yep.
backpackers know a lot about. And we tried to dose him up there. And one of us got him a Ziploc. One of us got him some ice out of the cooler. And then, like he said, he wanted to be left alone. I went back over there and checked on him. It wasn't too late. And he was asleep in his hammock. He had his foot propped up on his chair, the ice, still on his ankle,
Gosh.
melting.
But here's the thing, man. How awesome that you guys were on a kayaking trip where you had ice.
Yes.
Oh,
The,
man.
I mean,
It's
think
next
about
level.
that for
that
a second, man. If it was a regular backpacking trip, there's no ice.
no, and if we was backpacking, I'm really not sure how I would have dealt with that because I would just I guess toughed it out till I got to the nearest point on there. You know, hitting. We had a 911. We could have hit, but at the time, to be honest with you, I wasn't in that much pain. I couldn't stand on it, but I could.
Wow.
It really wasn't throbbing or anything. It wasn't like, oh God, guys, it's hurting. But no, we still swam. We still did campfires. We still went down the river. So at that point, in my mindset for night one, I was like, I got to see what it looks like in the morning. You know, because if I wake up and it's just purple and in intense pain, we might have had to hit the button. I might have
Yeah.
had to say, I need help to get out somehow. Like horses or something would have to come down there and get me. And done it, 1800 style. And but I was like, it's not hurting. They built me a crutch. They sawed up a stick and helped me with the crutch. And
Now,
the
did you
next
put a splint on it or anything to kind of keep it stabilized, or?
no,
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 I had a compression wrap.
and I'll be honest with you, the hardest thing out of this whole trip for me was pooping. Me
Oh,
walking with one foot in the heat, bugs,
uh,
getting to an area far enough. Like I took a poop one time and I said, "Hey guys, I'm pretty close." I was like, I can't go no farther. I was like, I just couldn't go any farther. And I was like, you got to poop. And I was just like, that was probably the roughest for me.
Jason, can I just tell
That
you
one.
something? Can I just tell you
Go
something?
for it. Yeah, bro.
The mythology of Mr. Backpacking with Jason is growing because of this. I mean, seriously, man,
Oh,
it's who in the world goes out, snaps their ankle, has what looks like
yes,
a giant softball growing out of their leg, and then is like,
yes.
I got this. I mean, it's like you're one of a kind, man.
They
One of a
Now I have to
kind.
say my buddies, Jeremiah and my Kentucky buddies, no YouTubers or nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
They all helped me a lot. They helped me get in my boat and they just pushed me on out there, and they would stay behind me in case I fell out of my boat or anything bad would happen. They was checking on me, and so everybody they helped me out on those parts. But when I say, hey, I got poop. Wasn't nobody raising their hand. Wasn't nobody saying, "Hey, I'll help you out there." Wasn't nobody digging me a
Jason,
hole or
I'm gonna be honest with you, Jason. If I was there, I'd be the same way. It's like it's a lot of things I'll help you with, bro. Your arms
"Hey, I
work.
got poop." Everybody just turns their heads like,
Here's the
"What?
thing.
Yeah,
What?"
I wouldn't care if you'd have done it right there near us, as long as you just warned us, so we can all turn and look the other way. But I'm not helping you. I'm
dude,
not
there was
helping.
Go ahead.
how many? How
Well,
many? I think 5 of us total, including you.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we were just sitting there thinking, dude, if he's like, oh, he's going to poop. He's going close. We was thinking, well, are we going to draw straws or what? For whenever he hollers, he's fell down, he's hurting. Somebody's got to help him up, clean the poop off of him. I mean, who gets to pick? How do you pick who helps him with that?
Well,
Oh,
since I was Sean's best man in his wedding, we probably would just pick Sean.
oh,
Maybe
he'd have
have
had to do it,
Corey
right?
help me.
He'd have had to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Since I was his best man in it, yeah, something like that. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, I was in my hammock, and this was night two. I was in my hammock asleep, and it was like 3 in the morning. And I was like, I gotta pee, and I have dual zips on the hammock, so I zipped open the other side, and I was like, this just ain't gonna work. I was kind of downhill, and I was like, if I pee right here, that pee's gonna go down here to my gear and to my stuff. So I was like, I've got to get up. I was like, I had to motivate myself. Quit being lazy. Don't be lazy. Get up. You could do this. So I got myself up and out of there, and that was pretty tough too. Just like getting out of your hammock and like having to just go pee in the middle of the night. You're sleepy and all that. But once again, at the time, I thought I just had a sprained ankle. So I didn't
Right.
know that I had totally broke my ankle into where I had to have surgery and everything. I did not know this at the time.
I want to go back to
Man.
day 2. So Jason has
Yes.
went to sleep, and all of us went to sleep, and we wake up day 2. And of course, one of the first things we do is check, see how's Jason? Is his foot still swelled up? Has it gotten better? Is he hurting? So we go
You
over,
want to
say
go
hi.
home?
Yeah, we see if we're gonna have to rescue here. Well, turns out Jason says, let's keep going. He's going to try to tough it. So he's got his crutch, which is when he
Gosh.
says crutch, that's a generous description of what he was using. He was using just like a 2-inch thick, 2-inch
Stick.
diameter stick and a rag tied on top. It wasn't like a hospital crutch. So he hobbles over, he gets all the stuff picked up, loaded into his kayak. And I remember a couple of the guys launching him, and Jason's like, ooh, 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 and it slides off through the mud and the kayak into the water, him sitting in it. And I thought, we're in business. We're in
We're
business. As
good.
long as one of
Yep.
us can drag him through, like he said earlier, if it gets too shallow, you got to get out of your kayak and drag it. But the problem is Jason doesn't need to get out of this kayak until we like stop for lunch or stop for camp.
I can't
So
walk.
no, he couldn't walk. So we got him in there. One of us kind of stayed behind to make sure he wasn't last in line, because if we got washed down through the rapids and he's just stuck up there,
Yeah.
we could get hurt trying to walk back up the creek or the river and get him. So we get him in the water, and we have a pretty good day. I would say day 2. Wouldn't you agree, Jason?
I would, yes. We got some fishing. We did some swimming, and the swimming was just pretty much, them getting me into the water. Me just on my butt, just scooting out there until I get deep enough to where I can float, and stuff like that. And oh yeah, we was on night 2, so we get to camp, and there's people on horseback. They had lost one of their people who had a horse down into the river and it couldn't get back up, and they lost him, and they couldn't find him, his horse, or where he had went. And how many people you think, Jeremiah? 20 people was out there searching for him.
There was 23 people, if you don't include the babies, and 23 horses. And we got to camp pretty early. We said we need to get Jason out of this kayak. It was probably 2 or 3 o'clock. It was a lot earlier than the day before. It was early afternoon, and we heard these people go by on horseback because there are horse trails on each side of the river that we were going down. Very popular horse area, like Horse Camp Creek and all that's Big South Fork area. So a lot of horse trails. John, you're familiar because you've done the Sheltoe through. So big horse population. And these people, we had heard them hooting and hollering, and we was like, man, there's a bunch of people. We set up camp. They went down one side of the river, couldn't really see them. And dude, they come back up the river, and I was like, what is going on? Because there's just 2 or 3 of them come into our camp. And they were like, sorry to invade your camp. We're looking for a guy. Have y'all seen him? He went over the bank and couldn't cross the river there. It's too deep, so he couldn't get back up the bank. They were looking for him for a while. And dude, they disappeared. And then they came back maybe an hour and a half later. Of course, they were in distress because they're looking for this guy. This guy's lost with a horse, and he may have had some adult beverages, which we didn't know at the time. And dude, they brought in every one of those horses to our camp. I mean, there were 24 horses. When I say brought them in, Matt and I were camping 5 feet from each other. This camp was small. Everything's tight. Jason, he had to stay pretty close too because he was hurting. And a couple of other guys went up the river just a little bit, but they were only 30 yards away, 40 yards away. Dude, these horses, let me give you an idea here. They were so close to our camp that whenever they were peeing, it was going on Matt's ground sheet for his tent. I mean, they were literally standing there next to him, and he's getting splashback.
Oh, that's not cool.
No, not at all.
A couple of the guys had to bury some of the horse poop under rocks because the horse, dude, they were in the camp.
Why would you do that to somebody at their campsite? Why would you bring your horses into their campsite?
They've been looking for their buddy for such a long time, and they needed to cool off, them and their horses. Everybody, they all needed to cool off. And you can't really control when a horse is going to use the bathroom, but them coming in there, they should have maybe went down river a little farther.
I was going to say, there are a lot of places out there they could have gone where they could have done all, they didn't have to be on your campsite. So that happened to us. That happened to us in April when I had a group come over from, there were a bunch of people from California and all over the place. And I took them, we went up to Indian Staircase. We're camping out up there, and these horses come across. And they stood out on Indian Staircase with the horses, and the horse pooped on Indian Staircase. They didn't clean it up. They just left it there.
No wag bag?
Nothing. Can you believe that? No wag bag for their horses. Who doesn't wag bag a horse? That's my question.
That's what I've been thinking all along.
The California people were losing their minds.
Amish, listen, carry your wag bags.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
I asked these guys, like, where are you from? What are you doing? And they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from here. And they're like, where are you from? I was like, where are you from? And they're like, I'm from here too. So we're
Yeah.
both local, like the
Yeah.
county that we're in or the surrounding counties. And I said, well, what are you guys doing? He said, I'm going right down there and jumping in the water. And that's exactly what he did. The kids were jumping off their horses. I mean, they're climbing up, jumping off the saddles and diving into the water. And they stayed there for probably 2 hours. Wouldn't you say, Jason? An hour, two
It's
hours?
yeah. We went on down and started swimming ourselves and everything, but you know,
I'm still getting over a
you
dude getting
can't.
his gear peed on. Like, come on, man. Come on. That's so great. And
Yeah,
I've
move
seen
the
a horse
horse
pee
away
before,
from
dude.
you.
That's not like a person peeing. That's like grabbing a
Oh no,
fire hose and
no,
like dousing it in
no.
urine, dude. It's awful.
Yes,
I
you're
can't I
100%
can't get
right.
over it, man.
I've
I
never
just
been a
can't.
yeah.
I'm just the bitterness that I would be dealing with that in that moment towards those people would have been really bad.
Well, what
So
can we do?
Yeah, there wasn't much you could do. I mean,
throw rocks at the horses.
yeah,
They had
no.
kids and
Well,
Throw
we
they
did
rocks
have
at
had
the kids too.
fireworks.
I'm
We
kidding.
thought about laying some fireworks out there. We had some pretty good ones too. But it was like, but no, but for them, I was glad if they found their buddy
Yeah.
and found the horse because I was talking to a guy. I was like, that horse went down the river. He's dead. He's probably going to drown. And he's like, I know. I know. He's like, we just want to make sure we find the horse or the boy. One of them. And so I was glad. Emergency situations happening everywhere at the moment. My foot, guy losing a horse. We still have the bigger rapids coming up. My buddy Scott has a situation. I guess we'll get to here in a minute. And
It's all secure in
just
Sector 7.
it wasn't secure in Sector 7. It was not secure in Sector 7. We had a man down in Sector 7. We had horse pee and horse poop in Sector 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll only mention a couple other things that I had for day 2, and of course we can explore whatever you want, Jason. The cooler and the ice, absolutely amazing. Day 2 for lunch, I had this this cut up prepackaged salad that I bought at Kroger, and I brought some honey mustard and ranch and put it in there. Had this fresh, delicious salad. You can add tuna or chicken or whatever you want. I had bacon in mine. Oh my gosh. I was just thinking backpacking. Dude, it was like 80, 90 degrees out there, but the water was amazing. And I was like, this is way better than backpacking 95 degrees. You can hop out of the
Yeah.
kayak anytime you want.
There's a
Submerge
lot of
yourself.
things that are better than backpacking in 95 degrees, if I'm being honest with you. And I love
Oh, yeah.
backpacking, but man, hot weather backpacking can be the worst experience in the world sometimes. So just
Where we
hearing you
was
guys
in a
talking about
river,
kayaking is awesome.
where we was in the river, the water was probably maybe 60 some degrees, Jeremiah, something like that. So I
Yeah.
kept my foot in that water a lot. When we
Yeah,
was going
good
down the
call.
river, I mean, I kept that in there as much as I could and just let it soak. When the rapids were coming, I'd put my foot back inside, then, go down the rapids and then put my foot back out, keep it in the water, and try to put it up on the kayak I was going. So this moment, it's still pretty swollen. Wasn't going down any, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we kind of hung out the rest of day 2. Once the horses headed out, we kind of went back into camp, stopped swimming once they were all gone, cooked some dinner, made a little fire. Boy, you don't need much. You don't need much fire out there. just enough to cook on. One of Jason's
Yeah,
buddy had this giant tomahawk.
I
yeah,
I mean,
saw that actually. I think you put that in your video, Jeremiah.
yeah.
yeah, I put a little video out. Jason, are you making a video of this trip?
I am. I'm editing it right now. I got a little footage at the end of the hospital and stuff, so I'm putting some of that in there.
All right. Well, after we talk about the Scott situation and the rapids and stuff, I want to hear about the hospital and how all that went as well. So let's unpack day 3 here. So we
Well, hold
wake
on. On
up.
day 2, we
Okay,
did
yeah,
have
go ahead.
fireworks that night. Yeah, we got fireworks on day 2, and we got to hang out, have campfire, we got to swim. So we still had a very fun day, and I was trying to be as positive and joyful as I could because everybody's everybody's wanting to have fun on this trip. And once again, at the moment, my foot wasn't hurting unless I walked on it or tried to step on it. So
Unless you put any
day
pressure on.
3, yeah, no pressure. But day 3, everybody still, checking in on me. And of course, I said, hey, I got to poop. And then everybody turns their head, you know. I had to go fish
I said, me
again.
too.
Oh man, that's awesome.
uh, I should have just went in the water and pooped right out there, and been a lot easier to swim and poop than it would have been to go over there and dig a hole and poop in that and everything. But day three, I knew day three is always the roller coaster day. Those are the rapids. It's going to be a lot more. With the water low, it wasn't as ferocious as it is when it's 500 or 600. And experienced kayakers do the CFS around 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. So they're the ones with the skirts and little kayaks. And we got fishing poles and all this. So our CFS between 600 and 300 is a good flow to hit the rapids, not get stuck, have a good time. Where the water was low, I knew we're going to hit a lot of rocks. You know, we're going to drag. I knew it was going to be a bumpy ride for a guy with a sprained ankle, I thought, but ended up being broke. So day three, I knew it was going to be the day for sure on there. And to which almost everybody fell out of their boat and almost sunk. So
Make sure you tune in next week for the rest of the story for this trip. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you soon.